Hey, Fifth Block. I noticed that not too many people have finished the narrative yet, and so I thought I'd make a little video explaining a little bit more in detail what you can do for your narrative to hopefully give you some ideas when writing. So, when taking a look at the prompt, it says the actions, reactions, and feeling of the dog play an important role in To Build a Fire. Imagine that you are the dog in this story and that you're able to express your thoughts. Write a narrative essay telling your feelings, hopes, and fears during the long trek through the bitter cold. Refer to details from the story, but interpret them from the dog's perspective. Alrighty, so we're basically writing the story and key events from the story from the perspective of the dog. Now, you don't have to be writing the entire story. I think that would get pretty lengthy. But I would focus on maybe a couple of scenes and a few of the dog's important thoughts to create a solid narrative. Now, one thing that the story notes is that the dog and the man kind of have a master slave relationship. They don't have a good relationship. So how would that manifest with the dog? Would the dog be angry? Would the dog be frustrated? Would the dog be disappointed in the man? How would the dog express? Maybe the dog would feel sympathy for him. After all, it's pretty clear that the man gets into a pretty dire situation later in the story, and the situation that he puts himself in is, I mean, it's hard not to feel bad for him, even if he is kind of arrogant and even a little sexist at points. Because, I mean, suffering the fate that the man does out in the cold it's rough. I mean, I can't help every time I read that story, but when I get to the end, I'm just always kind of left empty. How would the dog feel about that? I mean, after all, the dog kind of sees him as the fire provider. Would the dog feel sympathy for him? Would the dog feel bad for him? Maybe the dog would feel that he got what he deserved, considering that the man did try to kill him at one point. So, how you decide to interpret the dog is pretty important for this story, and that's where I would start. When you're creating your opening, when you're creating your narrative, you really want to think about the dog's headspace. Try to get inside the mind of the dog. One of the things that the prompt mentions is that you should be telling your feelings, hopes, and fears. And so try to think about what the dog would desire most. Obviously, that's one of the story things that the story mentions is that the dog is really wanting shelter and fire. And so maybe those are some key things you could bring up for your response. If you have any questions on how to complete the narrative, please make sure that you let me know. I'm still here for you during this time, and I will support you in any way that I can. Yeah. So, good luck on the narrative, and make sure that you ask questions, and I'll be taking a look at those narratives on Friday well, I guess it would be more like Saturday when I take a look at them because the due date's on Friday. However, I'm going to offer feedback and offer you to take a look at any corrections that are on there, and you can correct them for additional points. So, anyway, I hope this was useful to you, and I'll see you around.